Hey everyone, this is the Pawn Shop Hero, and welcome to the pilot episode of a new segment I'm doing here on the channel called 5-Minute Review. Now there are no tricks here guys, I play a game, I do a review of it, in roughly 5 minutes. Why 5? Well, because the pace of life these days is increasing and you may not have all the time in the world to watch a 20 to 30 minute breakdown video. So if you want to have a quick bite of a brand new game, or hear my opinion on an old title that you may have skipped over, make yourself some coffee or tea, or whatever else you drink, and enjoy the playlist. Please bear in mind that the views expressed in these videos are strictly my own and can be very subjective, so I would appreciate a respectful atmosphere in the comment section below. Alright, we're starting off the series with Crash Bandicoot 2 N-Tranced. The Pawn Shop Hero, you have way too much Crash content on the channel, move on to something else. You're absolutely right my friend. I do admit that I've been displaying my love for one franchise way too much up to this point, but do not worry, I promise we'll be chatting about other titles in the near future. For now, let me tell you about my experience with this little game. Developed by Vicarious Visions, the company that most recently brought us the N-Sane trilogy, Crash Bandicoot 2 N-Tranced was released for the Game Boy Advance in 2003. It is blasphemous for me to admit, but the reason I'm making this review in the first place is the fact that I have beaten N-Tranced for the very first time in my life mere weeks ago. It was one of only a couple of Crash titles that I've never attempted before, so I thought that I cannot delay it any longer. Hinted by the number 2 in the title, N-Tranced is a direct sequel to Crash Bandicoot The Huge Adventure, another Game Boy Advance title by Vicarious Visions. Uka Uka, the evil twin brother of Crash's tiki-masked guardian Aku Aku, became infuriated with Dr. Neocortex's numerous failures to take over the world, which urged him to entrust Dr. Nefarious Tropy with the task of global domination. This time around, the scheme involves kidnapping Crash and his family and enticing them rather than fighting them. Entropy summons an old friend and a newcomer to the series named N-Tranced to hypnotize Crash and the gang into helping Uka Uka's wicked cause. Entropy opens up a vortex which teleports Coco and Crunch to his lair. However, Aku Aku is able to pull Crash out of it via the force of a power crystal. Quite hilariously, out of God knows where, Entropy's vortex sucks in fake Crash instead, and without realizing, the villains proceed in brainwashing the Bandicoots. This is where our title hero's journey to save his kin begins. N-Tranced is what you would normally expect from a 2D platforming game. You've got a good deal of familiar run and jump action with a lot of iconic box breaking and item collecting, but this game does not stop at that, as it throws in stages that utilize diverse gameplay mechanics and camera perspectives. While the game's so-called Atmosphere levels aren't a pioneering concept in gaming, it is interesting to see it at work on a handheld device. The problem is, these levels are restricted to an isometric point of view, and combined with fairly inaccurate physics, turn into a rather painful experience. Then the game offers a couple of recognizable run towards the camera type levels, this time controlling Crash on a wakeboard, which can be quite a challenge especially when going for the box gem, as the field of view is pretty shallow due to Game Boy's low resolution. You can often find yourself running into obstacles without having enough time to prepare to make a move. The portion of the game I found least enjoyable, however, were the outer space levels, which similar to the Huge Adventure jetpack stages require the player to dodge obstacles while flying from point A to point B. I won't go into much detail here, as one day if you're convinced enough you'll experience the game on your own, but the controls are pretty awkward. While I may have started this review on a slightly negative note, not at all do I want to scare you guys away from an all-in-all solid handheld Crash game. Yes, the story is fairly cliche and not as involved as some RPG game, but to be fair, it's not as important in a platformer like this. All of the crucial aspects that make this game playable and even replayable are present, and that's what matters. The sprite work is fantastic, character handling in the platforming sections feels right, and the detail-filled worlds present a bearable level of challenge. Some levels include pretty fun flying carpet and copter pack sections that actually work very well on a 2D plane. After beating the game, you can revisit the levels to race the clock in time trial mode, aiding yourself with the cool abilities like rocket jump and turbo run that you obtain after defeating the game's bosses. If you're a perfectionist that's used to going for all platinums, then this game will surely provide you with hours of extra gameplay. Oh, and almost forgot, if you have a link cable and a buddy that also owns N-Tranced, you can engage in 2-player battles and races for even more fun. If you can master your controls, that is. And finally, the music. As I might have mentioned in my previous videos, I'm very big on sound in video games, and the score for Crash 2 N-Tranced is simply excellent. While the songs are yet again remixes of previously heard Crash tunes, their modified sound fits the atmosphere perfectly. A personal favorite of mine is the theme for the Egyptian stages. Being a Crash Warped fan, I find it to be a very enjoyable rendition with a good punch to it. To sum everything up, even though Crash Bandicoot 2 N-Tranced does not reinvent the wheel, it nevertheless provides the quality and the replay value that a gamer would seek. Besides the classic platforming elements, N-Tranced is bold enough to take on the hardware limitations of the GBA and experiment with different game modes and mechanics. The great work of the sound design team completes the package, leaving a positive impression. Although not ideal, with the occasionally clunky controls and minor graphical glitches, I nonetheless deem this title to be a very good effort by Vicarious Visions. In my book, it gets a score of 8 out of 10. Well, this is it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching it. Please subscribe to stay tuned for more content. And before you go, here's an exit question for you. What level in N-Tranced, in your opinion, had the best music? Please comment down below, along with any other remarks or suggestions that you may have. And I'll see you guys soon.